So we will start. We have been discussing the myth in the scientific method, whether there exists a method which is unique to science. This has been the topic of discussion for the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So on that, we discussed the components of the scientific method: hypothesis, observations, testing, and theory. We discussed how hypotheses are made up, how they are evaluated, how they are judged to be accurate. Now we come to another problem in the end about theories is commensurability. Commensurability is a term that is used across all branches of knowledge. It started with mathematics initially. It has gone into economics. It has gone into ethics, law, astronomy, and of course, philosophy of science. In economics, I just would like to touch upon is with a common example so that it can illustrate this example. What does commensurability mean? It's like, for example, I buy 2 apples for $2 here, and I go to Pakistan, and I buy 3 apples for 2 rupees. Are they the same thing? How can we evaluate how can we evaluate which was more expensive or which is less expensive? That is what is the point of here. So instead of thinking, so think about this. In Indian subcontinent, I believe Pakistan and India, you are sold bananas by the dozen. So let's say I get a dozen banana for 5 rupees. I come to Canada and I pay $5 to buy 5 bananas. But I can't buy 5 bananas. Sorry, I can't buy a dozen bananas. I can only buy the pound or the kilo. So he's going to sell me 1 kilo. Would it be guaranteed to have a dozen bananas? I don't think so. Right? So how do you measure that? This is the economic problem, and it's a very fundamental problem. On what terms will you agree upon and say this is, and then there are various theories that are made up. So instead of, think about this problem in terms of, in sciences, you have one theory explaining something, say A, B, C. You have another theory explaining the same thing, A, B, C. So you have theory X explaining A, B, C, and you have theory Y explaining A, B, C. How do you know how do you compare these two theories? Same thing like we just looked at in economics, in banana example. Think of theories in terms of I bought the banana in India, Pakistan, I got a dozen. Here I bought a kilo. How do you compare which one is more expensive, which is less, which is more accurate? So that is what is meant by commensurability. Any questions?
So isn't it related to the what we call buying power of that?
You're going into the details of
I'm
economics.
just saying. Yeah. So it's the buying power that will determine of cost.
But how do you evaluate buying power? What are the definition of
people
buying
are earning, how people are earning, and how much?
So there's a whole
that's the whole theory itself.
Then whole theory itself. Correct. So, but you understand the concept of commensurability now.
Yeah, it's a complex. It's not a straightforward one. It's okay.
So
Which?
So
Is somebody else with you, or is somebody else there as well?
No.
Oh, okay.
So next, we are going to discuss. I think we have discussed already what commensurability means in the philosophy of science. There are various theories about how to discuss. That is basically the aspect that we are discussing. That the two philosophers of science here, Kuhn and Feyerabend, are the ones who discussed this topic, and they came to the conclusion that it is not possible to compare two theories of science. one replaces the other. So in essence, what they are saying is the Newtonian concept of physics and the Einstein concept of physics cannot be compared. This is what they say. And then we come to a more advanced aspect of commensurability is whether there's commensurability in the whole epistemology and the philosophy of knowledge itself. Meaning, and this is the way I can explain this is from a Muslim's point of view, the Quran is not translatable. Do we agree? You cannot translate the Quran in any other language. You can translate the meaning of the Quran. You cannot translate the Quran. So this problem, when it shifts to epistemology and linguistics, this is the shape it takes. The question now is, can you translate one language into another accurately? No. So that's what philosophers of science are saying. Same thing. One theory cannot be translated into another theory. But I don't think anybody here has ever heard about that. They always think one theory replaces another theory, and there's accumulation of knowledge, and one becomes more perfect as time goes on. But this concept defeats the whole purpose. There's no replacement. So, any questions before we move to a completely new section on this topic? Now, these are called the parameters. Well, now this is a new topic, new section on this topic. The standard model is the which is commonly known as the Big Bang for common people. Is the model? This is the current model of science that everybody thinks that's how the universe works. But what the people don't know is there are 18 or 19 free parameters. What does free parameters mean? These are, some people say 18, some say 19, some in fact have gone up to, there's more than this. These free parameters are introduced by scientists to explain the weaknesses of the standard model. You can think of them as the ad hoc hypothesis. I don't think.
So why do you call it free parameters?
These are free parameters because
Well, nothing is free.
it's free meaning that they are not enclosed by the theory. Free means you just pick them up from experiment and put it into the theory.
So it's not from within inside, it's outside.
Correct. Correct.
Ad hoc is inside.
No, ad hoc
Maybe
is also
it's
outside.
outside,
But this is experimental. Ad hoc hypothesis can be completely formal, meaning mental. This is a little bit empirical. In fact, if you put all of them together, it is 26 or 29 parameters, depending on which scientist you are talking to. So,
Can you go back? You tell me more about this.
go back.
There's a matrix you developed. Arrow, take your mouse. Click the arrows there. Click the arrow down there. This is the mouse. Well, this is the
Highlighter. Oh, okay. So, question.
Now, what is this? Quarks, electrons.
Oh, I'm assuming. Okay.
Bosons.
You want me to go into details of that? I don't think it's necessary. We can take that offline if somebody wants to. Basically, these are. This is the family of leptons, meaning electrons.
Precursors of it.
Huh?
Precursors.
No, these are electrons. This is the electron. This is the neutrino. Okay. And this, what you see here,
Maybe strong force. Elements of strong force.
this here is the quarks. They make up the protons and neutrons. So these are the precursors of protons and neutrons. Okay? This here are the gauge bosons. This is how the strong and weak nuclear force are exchanged. So the gluon is here, it exchanges, and then you feel the proton, the protonic force you feel. This is the weak electron nuclear force which the electron feels on a body. And these are other components here. This is the God's particle, Higgs boson. So this was the picture that was missing in the standard model, and this has been established by the current experiment at the Large Hadron Collider.
God's particle.
The God's particle.
But they
That's
don't
correct.
believe in God.
Do you remember my first presentation?
It's a sarcasm.
Sarcasm. Oh.
They are being sarcastic on this.
So
It's not literal.
The gods of the gaps have been fulfilled.
they're correct. That is exactly. That's what they're trying to say. So it's actually a satire on religion.
Mhm.
God's particle is a satire on religion. Just like Stephen Hawking said, one day we will be able to read the mind of God. You know,
Oh, he's just
I went through all that thing and remember in the first, all those things, the two of God, the face of God, the references that they continuously physicists make. Why do they make those references? Is because they want to, as Brother Fawad is saying, they want to hit a, satire of religion. That's the whole point. So we good? We can move on? So here, this is a little bit advanced technique that we are talking about here. This is a technique called renormalization. I just included it in this lecture because I just want to show you guys what people think about science as neutral and objective. Let's see how objective this method is. Renormalization means when you get infinities in your equations, like 1 over 0. That's an infinite term, right? How do you cancel it? You go and get another infinity from another place and you cancel that. You get a minus infinity and then you cancel that. That's basically renormalization. I'm making it too simplistic, but basically it boils down to that. So anybody, like Dirac said, who is the one of the greatest scientists of the 20th century, he said, what is this? I can do the same thing anytime I want to. This is not theory. So, but I don't know. That's what it is. So this is the criticism of renormalization by Feynman, another one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century. He said, I do not think that renormalization is mathematically legitimate. I would still call it a DP process. Okay. Same thing. There are other people who have repeatedly criticized it. Regularization is another counterpart to renormalization. Same technique. You get
In renormalization, correct me if I'm wrong, the empirical part of the theory is what you're talking about, right?
the formal part of the theory. So you get 1 over 0 in your equation somewhere, and you can't, 1 over 0 is undefined, right? So you go and get minus 1 over 0 somewhere else. You try to get it, and then you cancel that out. And
Equate the.
because minus plus it cancels out, right?
So you balance your equation
Correct.
to get your theory approved.
Correct. I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's in essence that's what it is. That's the essence of it. And the same thing with the regularization. Again. So now you judge yourself how objective a theory is. Now, I want to start this one. I will not be able to finish this, but this is one of the most important um, part of the scientific method is to remove bias in the scientific theory. How do you remove that? And there are different, excuse me, there are different kinds of bias. There are in the social sciences, there are mathematics and engineering. We will not be talking about every bias here that we have listed here, all categories. We'll just be specific to the philosophy of science one. Bias is an inclination towards something or predisposition, partiality, prejudice, preference, or predilection. Biases can be learned implicit. They can be implicit or explicit. Implicit means unintentional or explicit intentional. So we'll cover both, implicit and explicit. Okay, next. So these are all the list of biases that we have. Categories, sorry. So we will be discussing only one or two of them here. And we will look at number 5.
Yeah.
And specifically, we will look at racism in the scientific method. But that will be sometime down the road. But you will be amazed at how racist the scientific method is. You will be amazed. Actually, an article came out yesterday on BBC. It was a very interesting article. I will include it in my presentation. It is not a matter of racism in science. We are talking about racism in the scientific method. Please, bro. There's a difference in that. Like he was pointing out, you can have bad people in everywhere. That's a given. You can have bad Muslims, good Muslims. That's a given. You have young Muslims who will be drinking, who will be doing wrong things, which is prohibited against their deen. But there's something. If you say that, and that's what people. Is there something intrinsically wrong in the message of Islam? That's a different thing altogether, right? Is the Quran itself advocating violence against people? That's a different subject. I can go and beat somebody up. Am I inspired by the Quran? Those are two different things. So here when we are saying racism in the scientific method, we are asking, does the scientific method advocate racism? Is it intrinsic in that? That is a question. I'm not saying that I'm answering it positively or negatively. I'm just saying we will look into where it leads to. So the first bias that comes to that scientists needs to be aware of in their method, the scientific method, is the confirmation bias. So there's a tendency to confirm something that I actually believe in. If I'm carrying this experiment out, then there's a tendency that I will say, yes, it is correct, right? Because I'm the one who's doing it. So I want to confirm that result. That's what confirmation bias is. People do this when they gather or remember information selectively or when they interpret it in a biased way. And this is implicit. This doesn't mean that I'm doing it intentionally. We'll see its effect. There are different types of confirmation bias here. Bias based on information, interpretation, or memory. Like I don't remember something and I say it. That's a bias. Perhaps I remember it later on, then I will have to correct myself. There are related effects of these things, and we are not going to do the fine distinction of, we are not doing a study of bias. We're just seeing how it affects the scientific method. So it affects, this confirmation bias is not only affecting science, it is affecting everything that we do. Okay? It's intrinsic to our cognitive abilities. The first theory that we look at is actually general relativity. General relativity was confirmed by confirmation bias. Isn't that paradoxical? So general relativity, when it was proposed, right, it needed to be experimentally verified. Correct? So, the physicist Arthur Eddington was the first one who carried out the experiment to verify the theory of relativity. But his experiment was full of confirmation bias. You got that? So this is what happened. Einstein was German, Eddington was English. The World War I had just ended, and we know who was fighting who. So there was a big tendency for the English side not to accept the German science. And moreover, there was another reason. Einstein was replacing Newton's ideas, which were the bedrock of physics. So basically, in essence, one is saying the Germans are replacing the English idea. You could subconsciously think like that. I remember when India and Pakistan are playing cricket, it's a war between India and Pakistan, right? Sorry?
There was a movie too about this issues,
Which
German
one?
and English.
Yeah.
World War II. Hollywood made a movie just a couple of years ago.
Which one?
The same you just talking about.
On this theory of
On this
relativity?
theory, yeah.
What's the name?
I was just thinking about it. Which one was that?
Okay. Let me know if you think. Let me know. So, so basically, this was. But Eddington was very friendly with Einstein. Why? Because both were pacifist, meaning both abhorred war, and they would not like to see people fighting. So this is what he said: "I have a dream. One day, one day, English and German scientists will be able to sit down together at a scholarly meeting without nationalist prejudice." So I'll give you a little bit background on the English and the German intellectual rivalry. English calculus was invented by Newton. Everybody agrees? That's what we are told, right? But actually, it was also invented by Leibniz. He was German, and both Newton and Leibniz they fought like hell on who invented calculus first. I cannot go into the calculus wars right now. That would be mathematics. So, but since that time, the rivalry between the English scientists and English academia and German academia always existed. So now look at this line here. Both Newton's and Einstein's theories. This is where the whole thing comes together. Both Newton's and Einstein's theory predicted that light from distant stars would be deflected by sun's gravity. Both predicted that. Einstein's theory said 1.7 seconds, and he said 1.8. So you can see the difference is very minute, right? Just 1.0, right? Seconds, not minutes. You understand seconds and minutes. So now the question was, how do you? Eddington was going to go and measure this out, this difference. If it came out as 1.7, then it's Einstein. If it became as less than that, it's Newton. Right? So look. So he designed the experiments, but he did not include other outcomes like too much deflection, straightening, and other falsifiability wasn't included in Eddington's experiment. So he took 3 sets. Well, basically, this is what happened on the Cape Verde Island. The eclipse of the sun was taking place. Eddington went there with the telescope to measure when it was completely dark how the starlight from the background star would be deflected towards the Earth, right? So now, what happened? He had 3 sets of plate, and he neglected the other 2 sets, and he told everybody that the only one of them in which he confirmed that Einstein's theory is right, and that's it. So he did this. This is what is a classical case of confirmation bias. You want to confirm what you believe in. So He gave no reason why he is abandoning the other two plates. He never tell. It's now when scientists go back to study those plates that they find the errors. And if those errors had been discovered by then, Einstein theory would have not have been accepted. I think any questions on that Einstein theory of relativity and confirmation bias? We move on to another. You good? Any questions? You look very thoughtful.
I missed a couple of things.
Okay, ask Kavil.
But I'll see the video.
Okay. So we go to the second problem of the scientific method. Tell me when you have to stop. Stop.
12:30.
I think we can stop here because this is going to take at least half an hour.
Okay.
Okay.